So hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the Circle of Peaceful Progress. This evening on Wednesday Wellness, we meet Priya George. She is an accomplished coach and therapist using several healing modalities such as metaphor therapy, core transformation, family constellation, and past life regression. Priya, with her keen observation and listening skills, identifies behavioral patterns and recognizes how an individual's environment, thought, and body language change with increased awareness. Priya will discuss the transformative power of somatic healing through radical affirmations and help us explore the mind-body connection in our personal growth and healing. Welcome, Priya, and over to you.
Thank you, Sienna. That was a beautiful introduction.
Thank you.
Everything put in crisp and to the point. Interestingly, everybody here understands the word Soma. And any idea? Anybody wants to put in chat and tell me what is Soma? Or if you don't know, you say don't know. Sleep, okay. All right. So Soma over here. Soma is cheers, wow. All right. Okay. Soma is basically body and the data hub of all our information across time and across space also, I believe. All right. And whenever something happens to us, we have an instant reaction in our body, which very often we miss because of our tendency to go back to the head. And body vibrates at 200 frequency, while the brain vibrates at 400 frequency. And now you know why we switch to the head, right? And our heart vibrates at 500 frequency. And now you know why your heart precedes the brain, right? You can't ignore your heart, but people who tend to lean towards logic tend to go back to the brain because of the past experiences. Any questions so far in this much? I know I've used a lot of technical words in a sentence and the entire explanation so far. So now, the whole thing is like, you know where your data is stored. Your body is constantly talking to you in our everyday of our lives. For example, when you missed a bus, where do you have the sensation? Each of us will have different places. I'd like the videos to be on, all those who can put the videos on so that I can see your facial expression. Chitra, Shweta, Jasina, Munmun, could you all please turn your video on? Because since we are working with the Soma, it's really nice to see your body language here. Yeah. So now, there you go. Jasina's on, Pooja's on. Anjana, unless anybody has a genuine reason why you can't turn your video on, all those who can turn on your video, please do. Yeah. Which will help me give you feedback at the end of the session as well when we are doing a small meditative process. All right. Stomach, somebody feels in the stomach. Apruba feels in the stomach. Sienna feels in the heart when you miss the bus. So the question for some of you who joined recently, whenever you miss the bus, where do you sense? Have you missed anything? Like any mode of transport? I think I can raise my hand and vouch for all sorts of modes of transport that I have missed. Right from flight, train, bus. Now my body memory has become so good. Now I know that more than getting anxious, what's my next plan of action? So I switch back to the brain again. All right, irritated. Somebody feels something at solar plexus. Lovely. Now, what do you do with this feeling? In Redikall, we are taught to breathe it out, right? And how do we work, with your somatic awareness and with radical statements? Radical statements are very powerful. When you acknowledge and accept what is, say, for example, can you bring in any kind of physical memory right now? The imagination of missing a bus or train, or an existing physical ache or pain that you'd like to address. You all can either unmute and tell me one by raising your hand as I call out your name. Yes, Bella?
Always if I hear any unhappening or even a sad news, I start vomiting and nausea.
Okay. So do you have a sensation of that in your body right now?
Not now, but always if there is something, I have so much of anxiety. Right now, I have nothing. I'm just telling you, correlating.
Anxiety.
Yeah, correlating with a thing and my body reaction.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing, Bella. Anybody else wants to share any kind of body reaction which you would like to address during the meditation process? If you are comfortable sharing, or you can make a mental note of it and tell me what happens at the end of it. Yeah. So I think this concept is better explained experientially. All right. I would invite all of you to just close your eyes for a moment. And focus your attention on your breath. Thank you, Sharda. Breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth 3 times. And mentally tell yourself to relax with every breath you take. And return to your normal breathing. And now, go back in time. Remember any kind of physical experience, either a throbbing sensation because you missed something, or a sense of ache, pain, or grief that you have in any part of your body. Breathe into that. Invite that. And as you invite that memory, feeling, or sensation, get in touch with that feeling. And the radical statement that we will be using here is I archive this feeling, this sensation, or this emotion, whatever you are feeling at that point of time. Say it 3 times. Yeah. And the next statement that you're going to use is I archive the reason for this feeling, sensation, or emotion, whatever that comes up for you. And the more specific you are, the better it is. I archive this discomfort, burning sensation, churning, whatever it is. And if you've reached a space of comfort, raise your hand. Brilliant. I have 2 people raising hand. Yeah. The others can continue to say, I release this discomfort. Sienna's up, okay. All right. Okay, Sharda, I hear you. All right. Is there anybody who still has any kind of discomfort? All done? I see yawn, I see eyes open. Yeah. Anybody not feeling comfortable? You can please text in or unmute yourself and let me know. Everybody comfortable? Yes. Thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Okay, all thumbs up. So what happened over here? Thank you, everyone. I see all thumbs up. Sharda could not concentrate because she's sweating and is feeling very uncomfortable. And you're not able to focus on it. All right. Now, when we do this, what happens to our mind when we address the body? Can you think straight? Can you see what exactly is happening? Or do you find yourself giving into the panic? Yes, no? No, there is a little bit of settlement, right? So somatic healing experience is all about working with the body, the first reactive response that we have. It's a collective emotional experience that we express to our body even before the words come out, even before anything is being said. It's just like a baby that shows its reaction, and then immediately, like the mother, the brain takes over and gets into action. But when you just settle down and calm yourself, you are able to make better decisions. Yeah. So somatic healing is nothing else but when you address all the emotions that your body is feeling. So where do these emotions and thoughts and feelings or aches and pains come up from? One of the interesting cases that I had really worked with is there was this lady who came in with this groin pain. And with the groin pain, she has done physiotherapy, she's done yoga, she's gone to a gynec, she's gone to Ayurvedic doctor, she's done everything possible. However, this pain could not be released. So then through family constellation and affirmations, when we actually worked this out, it is a memory that she has been carrying for one of her family members. So when we did the affirmation and released it, I think I got back in touch with her after 2 months and I asked her, hey, how's the pain and how's it now? She's like, oh, I completely forgot about it. She went back to her routine life. And how did that happen? When we acknowledge what is and what's happening at the present reality, what your body is telling you, that's the fastest cue to work and release all the aches and pains. Yeah? Anybody disagrees? Anybody did not understand? Everybody good? All right. So open to questions in terms of what are the kind of things we can release to do with the body, what kind of affirmations to use, and how do we go about with that? Do you all have any questions on that front?
Please mention about the affirmation to use.
Sorry?
Affirmations to use.
Yes. So it is corresponding to your existing feeling. So if you are comfortable to share, you were one of the first 3 to raise your hands to say, that feeling is gone. So if I may ask, what is a feeling that you really worked with? If you want to share.
The thought that comes into my mind is that my father's death. All the grief in that time.
Yeah.
After this, I got an instant calmness.
All right. So the grief is mostly experienced in the chest. Did you experience it in your chest?
Yeah.
Right. So when the experience is in the chest and you acknowledge it, and one of the best ways to work with Soma is using your hands. When the mosquito bites or you're feeling heavy or your head is aching, immediately your body, hands move to those positions, right? So when your chest is feeling heavy, just put your hand on the chest and give a gentle rub. Can you see this? Like, give a gentle rub like this. And breathe. And when you do that, what begins to happen is either you will need to cry or you will feel consoled by yourself. And you come back into reality. How do you feel when you do that? Because your body has no words, it just has sensations. And when you touch your hand onto it, what happens? There is already an opening sensation that you're experiencing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can sense it. Yeah. So when you start doing that, it begins to open up. Now, what happens is this trauma is quite deep for you. So it will take a couple of sessions and to work with that. And then as you release, when you have nobody with you, what you can do is just this. You know, just rub that part. It begins to go. When you have a headache, what do we do?
No.
We tend to do this, right? How many of you do that? This way? Yes. And do you feel relief? Did anybody tell you to do this? No. It's a natural response, right? So become aware of your natural reflexes of the body. Start doing that. And the same way your chest, if your wrist is aching, we tend to do this, right? But if you just gently rub and say, you know, what exactly is happening? You might have to get an image, a thought, or a feeling, and just say, I acknowledge this. So the three statements that I usually begin with, even before I begin Redikall statement, and this is also a part of Redikall, by the way. Before Aatmn came up with this, I used to use this with clients, and I'm like, he's put it into such a beautiful structure that now it becomes very easy for me to use. And I would just say, I feel this pain. The first thing that we tend to do, like we do with children, is like, keep quiet, just get done, okay, let me just get on. Let me just write, or let me just drive or ride. But when you just take a moment, whenever you have the time to breathe and you just do this, it begins to ease out. I'm not saying if there is chronic pain, you definitely need to see a doctor. But when you start doing this, you will immediately get a thought or an event which you need to work with and start saying, I acknowledge. And then if you have your Redikall book, all the points are mentioned there. You can straight away go there and use that affirmation and release that for that moment. And if it continues to persist, then you need to repeat those statements for 21 days, 21 times, or whatever you feel right, and trust your body's wisdom. Now, certain things where I have not listened to my body wisdom, I have definitely fallen into trouble. For example, if I want to buy a bike and I go seeing several bikes, nothing seems right, but out of desperation, I still end up buying one. It takes me a little longer to get to that destination than I otherwise would have. I've told you right in the start that I've missed a flight, bus, train. Now, there have been times when I have reached on time and the train has been delayed. And I have reached probably, half an hour early, the train is delayed even more, whatever. But what happens in that point of time is I was meant to meet some people. I was meant to interact with certain people. But, when you know something wrong is going to happen, there is a, cushy feeling, that squeezy feeling from inside, or your heart starts to beat faster. Have you experienced that? Listen to that and say, what is it that I need to see that I'm not seeing right now? Most often when I forget my cell phone at home, I get this feeling I'm missing something, and then I immediately check my bag. It's an everyday thing, right? Everybody feels your body keeps talking to you at all times. Okay? Pay attention to that feeling, acknowledge that feeling, immediately you'll find what you're missing. If you are meant to call someone, you may be thinking of that person, and immediately if you actually pick up the phone and talk, this is something that most of us would have experienced. They'll be like, hey, I was just thinking about you. So we are all connected. Body has its own magnetic field. It picks up information. Listen to your body. When we go into places that we are not meant to be, like you visit a space which is closed for a very long period of time, there's a discomfort, right? How many of you experience a discomfort? Yes. So one of the best things you can do is step out. And if you should or must go, then go back home and cleanse yourself. If you can avoid it, best done like that. Yeah. Okay. I've been talking about all negative feelings. Now let me start talking about positive feelings. When you meet someone, you feel an opening sensation in your heart. Be present to that. And that very same someone next time may not give you a very opening feeling. So at those times, it's best to keep your conversations to the point or exactly what you should say or should not say. If you run the statement in your mind, your body will tell you, I should say this, I should not say this. Do a little bit of dress rehearsal. Like today, before I came into this workshop, I did a little bit of dress rehearsal in my mind. What is it that I'm going to say? How am I going to correlate this? Because I do use this modality mostly in the constellation field or the other one-on-one work that I do in different combinations. Like one of you pointed out, I do so many things. I use it in metaphor therapy as well. But when we acknowledge what is, and you run the statement in your mind, it gives you an opening sensation or a closing sensation. And as you acknowledge all of that one by one, it opens up and releases the trauma. And sometimes your body refuses to release it. How many of you all have seen the refusal to release any kind of emotion? Have you experienced it? No? Yeah. Apurva?
Ends up in a physical pain sometimes.
Yes, physical pain. So your body recognizes that there is a benefit of having that. So it will refuse to release that. There is a gain for you. And if you tap into the gain, the need for that pain will no longer be there because you will give it in a good way. So one of the ways to tell your body is like, I can give you the same experience in a healthy way. Yeah. Apurva is having a smile. Do you want to share something?
No, ma'am, that's okay.
Okay, thank you. So any questions? How to use somatic healing in day-to-day life? I've given you a very simple basic techniques that we do in our everyday lives. And this is something that we need to pay attention to. And I have done several mistakes ignoring the body cues. And I wish and pray that all of you start paying a little attention. We may not be inclined to listening to our body very often, but slowly and gently start doing that. And when you start doing that, your head remains more clearer, your body remains more settled, and invitation to trouble is very less. Yeah? Okay.
Apurva has a question.
Yes, Apurva.
Yes, ma'am. For more than a week, the way my body is reacting is whenever I do any R5 statements, I am yawning intensely at the start of the session. Till the session gets over, I'm yawning and tears are flowing like anything. So it's like even I cannot stop the tears. So it's been, there has been days when from morning till night, 24 hours, I can experience tears flowing down my cheeks. And it's not that I'm getting triggered or, something bad is happening. So this is what I've been experiencing now for more than a week or so.
And since when have you been doing your R5 statements?
I've been doing Redikall from the year 2020, and this response, this reaction is happening for, I think, 2-3 weeks now. In every session, start of the session, and when the session ends, the tears stop.
Maybe you're tapping into something that you are not aware of, but your body is releasing the trauma as you start saying the statements.
Okay.
And allow it to flow. It's okay. One of the shortcuts that I would suggest you to follow, and you can always come back and tell me that, is before you start your R5s, you do that fake crying. So take a pillow, put it onto your face, and scream into it. Initially, your screams will be like, just empty screams. But once you start doing it, you will actually sob as if, you've not sobbed like that for years. It will last only for about a minute or two, and then breathe in. And then release that breath and see what was it about. You might either see a memory image or simply your body will experience relief. You may not have a memory of something that's coming up for you, probably because it's coming from your ancestors. You're carrying it for them. Images don't come if it is your ancestral image. Yeah. And once you release that cry and grief that somebody has been holding for a very long period of time, you do it for them, you set yourself free. And I really would like you to try that and come.
Yeah, ma'am, I'll try.
Yeah? Okay. Anybody else? Any other question? Okay. Seems like everybody got their answers. Hi, Preeti. You're on mute.
I'm coming to meet you, then I'll ask you all the questions.
Yes, I'm going to see you tomorrow. All right. Okay. So somatic work is quite simple. To wind up, I would say 3 pointers. 1, whenever you have any sensation or feeling, acknowledge it by simply saying, I acknowledge the sensation and feeling. Most of the time, once you acknowledge, you will either get the answer as to why you're feeling it, what is happening, and what you need to release. Okay. Second, if you still do not understand what is happening, say the reason, radical statement again. Yeah. The reason for the sensation and feeling. And once you do that, again, another point will come up. If you do not get the point, let go of the resistance. Let go of the sensation and feeling. If it still does not go, find out what's the brilliance. Okay, once you start saying this, most of the time it gets healed. And if you still do not resolve, then I would suggest go book an appointment with all these brilliant facilitators that you have here. They will guide you through like, piece of cake and release it for you. Yeah. Okay.
Ma'am, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, what is the cause of severe headache? I mean, somebody who has never experienced a migraine and things like that suddenly starts experiencing severe headache. So it is again related with some thought.
There are 3 reasons. Sometimes I personally felt that why I experience headache. One is either I'm overthinking something. Okay. It's like you open multiple apps on your phone. What happens to your phone? Begins to heat up, right? And if you call any technician, they will tell you, please close all the windows open which you're not using. Number 1. So logically, I would say like figure out what are those thoughts that you're simultaneously working at the background and take a breath. Breath is one of the ways where you can slow down the process. And that's where yoga talks about, right? Like to sit down and breathe. It takes, 5 seconds to do that. Conscious breath. 5 seconds is possible by everybody? Yeah. And once you do that, figure out what you're overthinking about. Now, one is overthinking. All right. Second is you have visited a place where there are heavy energies. You may have picked up on somebody else's thought. So a question that you can ask yourself is it my thought or somebody else's thought? If it is not yours, the minute you release, then it typically goes off. Yeah. Third, there is something wrong with your gut. You've eaten or done something which is completely not okay. Yeah. Because the cells that are present in your gut are the same cells that are present in your brain. If you have a headache, you tend to vomit. If you have a stomach ache, over a period of time, you tend to get a headache. So they are interconnected. Yeah. So the minute you have your gut cleared, then your headache goes. Yeah. Does that answer your question? This
Yes,
is, I've done at the energetic
Very
level,
interesting.
experimented,
Yeah.
tested, and that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, because many a times what I've seen is that I'm sleeping, and when I wake up, I wake up with severe headache. So when I'm sleeping, I'm not overthinking. Like I am having a nice sleep, but I am waking up with a very, very severe headache. The entire head is throbbing, and it's very difficult to, it takes time to like settle down. With R5 statements and everything, I'm doing all that. It takes time to settle down.
Do you feel bitter in your mouth when you wake up?
No bitter feeling.
If that is there, then you really have to actually vomit it out and then you'll feel settled.
Okay. Yeah, that nausea feeling comes, but that nausea doesn't happen. But it's like the headache itself is very severe. And it's very surprising because early morning when you get up, you're supposed to be all fresh and everything. So that's why. Yeah.
Okay. Lighting a mustard oil lamp below your bed before you go to sleep might help.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Yes, Bella.
Ma'am, can you just brief about what is family constellation you spoke about? Little.
Okay. Family constellation is an interesting topic. All of you all have done it in the form of soul meta play. But the difference between family constellation and soul meta play is that soul meta play works at the soul level. The word itself says a soul has no order, no structure, no pattern to follow. It's all the soul's wisdom, why it is born, and it has certain experiences. So that's what we resolve through soul meta play. However, in constellation, we use the all-knowing field, the same thing which you call as matrix, but with the physical realities of our lives. Okay, so what is your physical reality here? You have a mother, father, biological parents, and if you are adopted, your adopted parents plus your biological parents, your ancestors, the land which you live in, the people who are a part of your system. So whenever something is not addressed, truth has its way to bring itself forward. Okay, so one of the questions that was asked earlier over here is like, I have no idea why I'm crying, Apurva. Okay, it may not be even hers that she's carrying and she's crying. So whenever the field opens, the all-knowing field opens, and we pick up representations and see what the positioning is. Now over here, position is very critical. Whereas in soul meta play, the position is not very critical. If you are standing in your mother's place, father's place, it makes a lot of difference because you're taking on their responsibility, you're taking on their roles and all of that. And you figure out, why is everybody coming to me and asking questions? It annoys you. At the physical level, you experience irritation. And when you voice it out, they say, you are supposed to do it, when technically you're not supposed to be doing it. So when you go back to your original position in the field, automatically there's a sense of relief. You may be doing the same task, but not from the same space. And people, the kind of expectation they have from you, it releases very easily. Miscarried children, unborn children, their energies are still present in the system. And when we acknowledge and give the position to them, there is a lot of freedom for the children who survived. Yeah. Their habits, behavior, traits we carry. Imagine unborn children having so much of impact. Yeah. Sometimes you feel, this feels too much for me to do. And you have no idea why. If you actually see, it's a simple set of tasks. If you ask children, your mother would say, just go to the bank and get this done. In a normal life, you will feel it very easy. But whenever your mother says that, it comes to you with a lot of heaviness. Example, I mean, all of you may or may not have your parents right now, but if you can recollect back, and when you actually go back and connect, you will see that you're probably the third born surviving child, but because you survived, you're tagged as the eldest. What you are taking on is a responsibility of those two unborn children, and that is why it is feeling heavy for you. And once you acknowledge their position and say, I am not the first, I am the third, there is relief in your entire system. Yeah. Sometimes people don't know because parents have not shared. And when we open the constellation and see, they will be like, okay, something happened here, something happened. And after some time, some relative, some uncle, some auntie comes and says, this was there. And there goes, bingo. That is what is happening. Partition is something that most of our families would have experienced in different ways. Right? Some of them may have been employees, or, you had to move places, land, or, some of them are freedom fighters. In so many constellations, that was carried onto the body. And, they would come back. The topic would be, in my office, no matter what I do, I feel not recognized. When you go back and track the history, it will be like one of their ancestors were freedom fighters. Their contribution was not recognized, which they are carrying on. And sometimes they feel that, the same topic again, I'm not feeling successful, I don't feel belonged, because the land was taken away. A lot of their properties left over in Pakistan. And for them, they don't feel that they belong to this land. Home is that for them. So that way. So there are different reasons why you feel different things. So when you open the constellation and give everything a place where it belongs, there is freedom in that. And the same way in your body, the minute you acknowledge what is happening and you give it a place, the minute you acknowledge it, there is settlement. And that's what we are doing here today. Yeah. Yes, Bella.
Ma'am, two questions. First is, if the unborn child is the youngest, and if the baby is aborted by itself or by the parents, is there a difference? And you're talking about constellation, like there is a set of constellation for every family, and how you see that and how you take out that constellation. You're talking about, if I see the constellation of the family.
So again, like soul meta play, there are representatives here. And the representatives bring it forward and they say that, this is what we are sensing in the field. There is something there. We do not know what it is. It can be an emotion. It can be a thought. It can be some ancestor or whatever. And once we start asking, and the minute the right question is said, so the cues given are, I feel small. I don't feel alive. I feel as if, I'm very tiny. Then we start inquiring and just go deeper into it. And that's when, the minute the right word is said, the entire system settles. Like the way you said, I see this anxiety, I feel this anxiety. What happened to your body? It settled because you gave it a place. Yeah. And the minute you give it a place, it settles. Okay, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling. I cannot resolve the situation. I cannot bring the bus back or the flight back. But yes, it did cause anxiety. And the minute you say, yes, this happened to me, yes to that, the first response is the body settles. Yeah? Does that answer your question, Bella? Okay. Anybody else? Any other question?
Ma'am, you said about the eldest child, if you give the place, and what about the youngest child?
The youngest child also, you need to give a place. Somebody will be extremely naughty, wanting your attention. And they'll be like, where is this naughtiness coming? I have no idea. Yeah.
I think we'll need a separate session on family constellation. It's so interesting.
It's one of my favorite pieces of work where, you know,
It's a lot of
you
work.
bring your issue, you bring it there, and the whole team is there to resolve it for you.
Yeah. It's so easily done sometimes. Okay. Any other questions? Looks like everyone's all settled.
All right. So with that, I think
Please give us your feedback on our WhatsApp group, all who have joined in today. And thank you so much for this incredible session, Priya, as always. We have learned to listen to our body, acknowledge and identify our emotions in an easy manner. And we now will tune into our body and release and address them with all the learning that we have had today. Thank you so much, Priya, and all who have joined in.
thank you, everybody. And thank you, Sienna, for hosting me and the entire Radical Consciousness and the group over here. May this work spread in good light.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah.